All right. Welcome to session 5 of the Overland Roundtable. On this episode, we are going to be discussing the different types of camp setups. There's a lot of different options out there. They each have their pros and cons. But before we get into the discussion, let's go ahead and introduce the panel for this Overland Roundtable session. On the very far side of the globe, we have Alex Gardner. How you doing tonight, Alex?
I'm all right, Dan. How are you?
I'm keeping warm, at least. We were talking about that a little bit before, and -1 here in Alaska is different than -1 there in Australia.
Yeah, certainly. I don't know that I'd survive that sort of cold.
Yeah, you'd be fine. We also have Brandon Libby in central Wyoming. How you doing, Brandon?
Doing good, buddy.
And you surviving the wind-blown Wyoming there? This is your first winter there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the first one. It's been nice. The low humidity is different than Charleston, South Carolina, and we've really been enjoying it.
Have you had your doors freeze shut on you yet?
No, we've had the windows freeze up in the cars, but no, the doors haven't frozen shut.
Yeah, I've had that experience. One time I spent the night in, I think it was Rock Springs, something like that. That was my experience there. But and in Oklahoma we have Taylor Adney. How you doing tonight, Taylor?
Good, Dan.
Excellent. I'm glad we could get everybody here. We couldn't get Jason, and our special guest kind of had other things come up, so they couldn't join us. But we've got quite a bit of experience with the various types of camp setups. So let's start off. Taylor, would you say that the most common and the entry level on camp setups would be the ground tent?
Absolutely. They're probably the cheapest and easiest to acquire, so I think that's where most people start out.
Yeah, and I think it really is the most accessible. I mean, you could walk into you can go into Walmart and you walk out with any kind of ground tent, whether it be their $35 backpacking tent or like a cabin style tent. So what is that what you have as a ground tent?
Yeah, that's what I currently use normally. It's a Eureka. I can't remember. I think it's a 4-person, but it's a 3-season. Since we don't have really harsh winters here, and I don't do a lot of camping in the winter anyway. So, yeah, I normally use a ground tent if I'm with the family, but if I'm by myself, I'll just sleep in my truck.
Okay. So what are some of the special considerations that you took into account for when you picked your ground tent?
I just wanted to make sure that it had good waterproofing, had a rain fly that went all the way down to the ground, all the way around. So that way I didn't drown in a good rainstorm.
You do get those there in Oklahoma.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do they call them, the gully washers?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The river develops out of nowhere?
Yeah, definitely. It gets out of its banks real quick.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, you've had quite a bit of flooding there recently.
Yeah, we had some very severe flooding here 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Wow. Well, let's see. Alex, I think you are in the rooftop tent, but you've got some other experience. What do you use for your camp setup when you're going out exploring?
Well, for the most part, it's been the rooftop tent, but I'm doing more and more camping just by myself lately. So I'm starting to go back to the swag, and I don't think you guys use the swag so much over there. But as Taylor was saying before, that the ground tent is probably the most popular option for beginners. I reckon it's probably between the swag and the ground tent.
So what exactly is the difference between a swag and a ground tent? I guess maybe for our North American audience, you might want to explain what the swag actually is.
Alright, so the swag started out, or in Australia, was riding on the sheep's back. So the drovers and all that sort of thing would have a sheet of canvas. They'd carry all their belongings in it while they were driving the sheep to port. And this bit of canvas, they'd unload it at the end of the day, and pretty much just fold the canvas over themselves and go to sleep in the dirt. And over the time, it's sort of developed to have a piece of foam in it, and so you literally just roll it up. It's I guess it could be described kind of like a big sleeping bag, really. Now it's you get these pretty fancy sort of dome ones with poles and all that sort of stuff, but mine is literally just a canvas sack with a piece of foam in it and fly mesh at either end. Takes you like 30 seconds to set up, and then you just roll it up and throw it back on your roof. Nice and easy.
Interesting.
You don't have to worry about wildlife.
No, I've never had too much trouble. I mean, I've heard of people leaving it unzipped and going to bed with a snake or something like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that.
Leaving anything unzipped out here is a no-no.
Yeah, I mean, half the creatures in Australia are, basically designed to kill you, right?
Yeah, that's right. And there's no better way to do it than when you're in bed. So.
Right there when you're sleeping.
Yeah, they don't waste an opportunity out here. But
okay.
Another good thing I like about the swag is when it's really wet, like not tailor wet, but maybe a little bit of precipitation, you can put it up on your stretcher, on a camp stretcher, and keep yourself up out of the mud, because it's just a small mine's a small single person thing. So you can be a couple of feet off the ground and stay high and dry.
That's pretty smart. I hadn't really even considered that, but that's a good idea.
Yeah. So the rooftop tent's going to make a disappearance, and there's going to be a bit more swagging for me in probably the year to come.
Got it. Well, I know before you were working on a trailer. Is that something you're still working on?
The trailer's still going, yeah. But that'll be more of a base camp sort of thing. It's like I like to go down some pretty narrow tracks and some pretty awful places. It's not the sort of place I'd take a trailer. So if I'm going with a big group of friends and we're setting up a base camp and doing sort of day trips out from there, we'll be using the trailer.
Okay. All right, well, let's transition to Brandon, because I know your camp setup has developed, and I watched you build a trailer about the same time as me, but you took a different approach to it. So what is it you use for your camp setup?
It really varies on where we're going, but if we want to go real fancy, we got the teardrop. I still have quite a few things left to do on it, but with the snow and all, it's not really fun to go out there and start cutting holes in it for the under sleeping area storage. So I'm going to kind of wait till it quits blowing. But for years we used a Kodiak canvas, 10 by 10, and it's made out of a real dense canvas material. It's got a lifetime warranty, which is I guess important when you're a $400 tent. But what we really liked about it is we could stand up in it to change. We're in Moab. There was a really bad sandstorm that went on for like 3 days. You couldn't even see the sun. But we were able to pop up a table in there and cook and eat and everything inside of it whenever we were at camp. And when the wind blew, there were a lot of tents were curled up in trees or in the Colorado River. But ours stood up. It actually would sway quite a bit, because the way it's set up, you're not actually dependent on the poles to hold it up. It's just the tension in the fabric, which is really interesting. And I liked that it didn't have a rain fly, so it held a lot of the heat in. It probably would have been better holding the heat in if it was lower, but I mean, it was tall enough I could stand in it, and I'm 6'2". But it's a good all-weather tent. It doesn't use any kind of special coatings or anything like that to keep moisture out. It just uses the actual fabric, kind of like the military tents.
Yeah,
Wet,
like old GP mediums, just heavy canvas.
Yeah. When it gets wet, the fibers expand and fills in the holes, and when it's dry, it actually breathes really well. But we really enjoyed it. We started out with a kind of like a cheap Walmart deal. It was massive, and if it was even a little bit chilly out, it was miserable. And so we decided we didn't want to do the rain fly thing again. But yeah, I mean, it really depends on where we're going. We've considered the rooftop tent, but just never really took the plunge. I mean, a lot of it was the money versus how many times we'd use it in a year, and figuring out what we're going to attach it to and stuff like that. I'm sure Alex's truck can actually hold a real payload, but most of the sport utilities here, as we know, their payload is like 800 or maybe 1,000 if you're lucky. So you start strapping 200-pound tents on the roof and 2 passengers, and you're getting pretty close already. So
Yeah.
we kind of rather just throw the tent in the back or drag the trailer behind us at this
Very
point.
cool. Now, I hadn't heard of that Kodiak canvas tent, so I looked that up real quick. Does that have like an awning out the front door? Or is that the one? Am I looking at the right one?
Yeah, it has a rollout awning and a couple of poles, and the poles hold it up, but the guy ropes actually hold everything together. So if a really strong wind were able to undo the guy ropes, the poles would just fall over. So there's no damage done.
Okay. So really, it doesn't have like poles in the corners. It's on the side there, and then like a spreader bar to keep it from collapsing in.
It's so directly to the front. You roll it up when you're not using it, or you roll it out and you stick 2 poles that basically there's a little round a grommet on each corner, and the pole just has a regular tent pole, like the ones you kind of unscrew them and they get longer. They telescope, and it's just got a little prong that sticks through that grommet, and then the other part sits on the ground, and the guy ropes just stretch it tight, and so it just kind of sits up like that.
Very cool. Well, Taylor, you had mentioned that you were thinking about going to a different setup. What is it you're considering, and why is it you're kind of leaning in that direction?
I've looked at a bunch of different options, and I can't decide which way I want to go. Looked at the rooftop tents, and like Brandon said, they're a little too expensive for my taste, and I just don't know that I want to strap a tent to the roof of my car and then have to fold it up every time I want to go hit a trail real quick. So I'm not real sure which way I'm going to go yet.
Yeah, and that was actually a big part of the decision that I had to build a trailer for the tent because of just that. I do a lot of base camp type things where I can set things up, leave it there, and then go off explore and return for the day. Or, like the trip up here to Alaska, we would still drop the trailer, then go do some exploring and then return. Even if we were, on a multi-day trip where you're moving camp every single night, it's good to have that flexibility to where you can get away and explore a little bit without breaking down your entire camp.
Definitely. And I was fortunate enough, my mother-in-law actually gave us a small pop-up camper.
Nice.
And, the only catch to it was we have to go get it, and it's in Colorado. So we're going to have to make a trip to Colorado to go get it once it warms up and
Where is it?
snow melts off all the roads. It's in Buena Vista.
That could be a fun winter experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that north
Well,
or
that's
south of Denver?
South, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's southwest. So that'd be a good trip. Good trip. I have not. It's been a while since I've been up to Buena Vista in the winter time. But the last time I was up there, I remember it being pretty snowy. But they do a good job of clearing the roads in that area of the world.
Yeah.
So, well, that's fun. There's a lot of different things that you can do. Do you know what kind of pop-up it is? Is it
I do
something
not
that's
recall right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see it and see it in action.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll. I'm sure I won't go as far as Alex has with his, but I'm sure I'll make some modifications to it and build it to suit our needs.
35-inch
Yeah.
tires.
No.
Yeah. You're going to have mud tires for that traction.
Yeah. So since you mentioned that, Alex, what all have you done to that pop-up trailer to make it a little more off-road ready?
It's got far bigger wheels. We've got 14-inch rims, whereas before it was 8-inch rims, I think. They're like little boat trailer wheels. So it's on 14-inch rims with light truck tires. We've put extended shackles on it, so raise the height of it a bit. It's actually, we didn't expect it to come up that high. It's about 3 or 4 times higher than original. But yeah, so we've done that to make it more off-road ready. A completely new chassis. The original chassis was completely busted. It was no use, and they just don't fully weld them. Like, it was never designed to be an off-road trailer, which is fair enough. So we built a new chassis, all fully welded and painted up, and then we've just basically rebuilt the interior, reused the shell from the outside, and we're decking it out with a 12-volt setup. So it was designed to be parked up in a trailer park, pretty much, with 240-volt systems and stuff. And so we've just scrapped all the 240-volt, gone for full 12-volt solar panels and everything.
Very cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that one out on the trails as well. I wish I could come down and see it in person, but
You might just have to settle for a video and a couple of pictures, eh?
Yeah, for now, anyways. Eventually, I'm sure I'll make my way back down to Australia to explore some. So
Yeah.
when I do, I will be sure to come find you.
Pop in and take it for a spin.
There we go. Well, I guess I should share what it is that I've done. I started off as well with the ground tent, and I went through just about every iteration of the type of ground tent possible. I did a lot of backpacking growing up, and my Eureka backpacking tent is still in great shape. My kids will occasionally use it as a play toy, but eventually stepped up to a larger tent. I don't remember who it's made by, but it was fairly cheap for the size. I don't know, we picked it up at Target or something. And the challenge with the ground tent was always water getting into the tent, whether it just be soaking up from wet ground or pouring in when there's rain. And trying to find a level surface that's not covered in rocks and stones, and trying to clean that up so you get a good night's rest was always a challenge. And the bigger the tent you get and use, it provides you a little more comfort, but that means you have to find a flat spot that is that size, and that becomes a real challenge. When I went and did the Vermont Overland Trophy, I went back to my backpacking tent, since it was just me and Humphrey the Adventure Beagle. And even that, with that small a footprint, it was hard to find a level spot. I think I set up camp in the middle of the night, and turns out I was on the middle of a side road. So everybody could get around me in the morning, but it was still covered in mud, unlevel, a pretty uncomfortable experience. But for this, now recently, I've stepped up to a rooftop tent. And I have a Tipui Grand Sabana, which is the biggest tent that Tipui made at the time. I don't know if it's still the largest. But CVT was another brand that I was looking at very, very closely, because they have some larger tents. And since we're talking my wife, 3 kids, and a dog, the footprint for that gets pretty big pretty fast. So both those products are really good, and CVT has done a lot of really cool innovations. I was hoping to have Bobby on the show from CVT Tents, because they have introduced a couple new things with theirs. They've got the Summit series, which has, it's a heavier canvas than a lot of the other rooftop tents here, and it has just a lot of upgraded materials. So I was hoping to learn a little bit more about that, but I know there's a lot of rooftop tents out there. From what I've seen, like Graham Bell with the A2A Expedition, they've got a South African-made rooftop tent that is very heavy canvas, kind of like what Brandon, like you were mentioning, and it's got, I think, 2 ladders and like 2 bedrooms, since they're traveling with 2 adults and 2 kids. It provides them a little bit of separation if they need it, but they're living out of that full time, so I would expect that to be a pretty heavy, durable material. And I'm looking forward to getting my rooftop tent back out there on the trails. Everything is generally closed. Most of those roads are closed to to Jeep and truck travel right now because it's covered in a couple inches to a couple feet of snow, and a lot of the roads are just closed to motorized vehicles. I don't know. I think I've seen pictures of rooftop tents on trailers being pulled by snowmobiles, but I haven't tried that.
That sounds scary.
Oh, but there's a lot of good things about it, and there was something I was also toying before I built my trailer was building a or building a teardrop like you've got, Brandon, and then putting a tent on top of that for the kids. So, what was your process kind of leading you to decide to build that teardrop versus any other kind of trailer?
I'm kind of, I don't know, I kind of like classic stuff. Just old Americana things, and there's nothing more Americana about camping than a teardrop. We were a little different. I would like to have done aluminum, but the wife wanted to go with something more textured. So we went with a kind of a commercial grade bed liner kind of deal. I'm happy with the way it came out for the most part, but there are a few things I would have changed. It's really tall. It's easily 6 feet tall, and most teardrops are probably 5 feet tall. But it all started when I saw a picture of a teardrop in it was in like a landscape type trailer. The ones with the metal sides and all.
Oh yeah.
I was like, you could lift one of those out of there, use it to haul wood and other things, and then put the trailer in and go on a trip or whatever. But I ended up making mine permanent. But I used that extra 13 inches on the bottom to store a water tank. It's 33 gallons. All the house batteries and all that are going to end up in there for the roof. That still need to go on. I haven't done any electric, but it just the wife really wanted a full-size mattress, and so I managed to squeeze a queen mattress in there, and some cabinets, and a little area to get the dogs up off the bed. But I don't know. I just took a lot of stuff I saw on the internet and kind of just did some stuff my own way and followed a lot of other people's direction as well.
Do you feel like you ended up saving money over the long run? Because I looked at like Moby One and SoCal teardrops, and those are I wouldn't say made of unobtainium, but they were outside my budget.
Yeah, I mean they go up quite a bit. I think they go up to like $20,000, don't they?
I think if you could probably option up a Moby One trailer up to $40,000.
Good Lord. Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I didn't do that I wanted to, but with all the solar, the water tank, the sink, the water pump, the full-size mattress, like all the pieces we have, we bought a pre-made trailer because I didn't have access to a welder at the time. But all that stuff, including the ARB fridge, the awning, everything, we spent about $5,000. So, I mean, we got most of the stuff you can get with the Moby. It's not as nice. We don't have like CNC machines and all kinds of fun stuff and computer-aided programs and things. But it was fun, and I used prefab parts where I felt like I needed to. Hatches are notorious for leaking. I was really careful the way I did the hatch, and doors are the other things that leak. So I bought some pre-made doors. I forget the name of the company I got them from, but yeah, it's just pretty standard bits. I just did my own take on it.
Yeah, the benefit to building your own is that it also doesn't require a payment plan or a lump sum purchase. You can phase it out over time and buy bits and pieces as your budget allows.
Yeah. And we took it to the first Overland Expo, the East one, and I hadn't finished the galley, so it didn't even have a hatch, and it was pretty much just a box with a mattress in it at that point. But I was still able to use it like that, and I mean, you don't need all the extra, little bits and pieces. It just makes it nicer. So if you really wanted to do it yourself, I mean, you could probably build one for about $1,200 without all the goodies.
Absolutely. Was there a resource that was kind of your go-to place to go to find information and get opinions on as you're building?
No, I spent most of my time just kind of randomly searching on YouTube and just Google in general, Google Pics, things like that, and just kind of like seeing the way that people sealed certain things or ideas people had and just kind of making them my own.
It's okay. You can say you use Pinterest. This is a safe place.
I was on Pinterest a couple hours ago looking at stuff.
I use Pinterest all the time.
For my woodworking stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just recipes anymore.
Yeah. That is a bottomless pit of ideas.
Yes.
Brandon, how did you get the queen-size mattress in there? Did you basically build the trailer around it, or were you able to squeeze it in there somehow?
I built the trailer around it. The very base part, which is the storage area, was built first, and then the platform above it, the mattress would rest on. And then I built the actual camper, and before I put the wall of the galley in, I slid the mattress in and then built the galley wall behind it. So it's pretty much permanently in there.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured.
So hopefully it stands the test of time.
Hopefully
Yeah.
it's a good mattress that doesn't need replaced.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, make sure the dogs go to the bathroom before you toss them in.
I got a reciprocating saw. I can always hack it up. Burn it.
Oh,
Oh, wait.
man.
Camper out too.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
This
So-
is why I'm leaving it in the middle of nowhere.
Just abandon it. It's funny what you find just abandoned places. But I never understand that. Alex, you mentioned you were throwing a swag inside a vehicle. Is that how you did it?
Depends if I've got my roof basket on or not, and who's travelling with me. But if it's just myself, I've got enough space inside the vehicle that I can just throw it in. Because the whole thing probably rolls up to maybe 12 inches in diameter and maybe 4 feet long, thereabouts. So
Okay.
it's not too big. And
So what are some of the special considerations you had before you started sleeping in a vehicle? Because I think we discussed this in the past. I've got the Jeep Cherokee, and I'm 6'1", and I do not fit in the back of there. However, I think with some modifications, and I'm looking at building a storage box for my wife's Yukon, I could build something in there, and we could sleep at least 2, maybe 3 people. You know, put some kids down the other direction.
yeah. Well, I've got a cargo barrier in the Patrol at the moment, so that strips out any possibility of sleeping in the back. But I'd consider probably building a false floor because the seats in a Patrol don't fold flat. So I would think about building something that could sort of just slot in and give you a big flat level platform to sleep on.
Okay.
That's the way I'd think about going about it. But yeah, it depends on the vehicle you've got too, I suppose. And that's another spot where Pinterest and YouTube come in handy, is Googling your vehicle and seeing what everyone else has done.
Yeah.
There's actually a good thread on Expedition Portal that's under the storage solutions.
Oh my word. That one. So that one is like, I don't know, 300 pages long because there are so many posts on the different ideas and things that people are building. That's one that I subscribe to. Oh, it's a bottomless pit, like I said.
Yeah, but that's the way you go, isn't it, Taylor? When you're out by yourself or just with your mates, you just roll out in the back, don't you?
Yeah, normally luckily in my 4Runner the rear seats fold completely flat, and so I'll just fold them flat, throw all my gear on the roof, and then put a sleeping bag down as padding, and then throw another sleeping bag on top of it, and crash out there. And there's plenty of room. I'm 6 foot tall, and there's a couple inches extra, so it's pretty nice.
Yeah, and then you're the one laughing in the morning when all your mates wake up soggy or something like that.
Or cold, yeah.
Yeah, soggy or cold.
Well, here's a question for me. Does the 4Runner have a way to open that rear hatch from the inside?
No, I don't think it does. I usually come in and out of my rear passenger door.
Okay. I know that's something that a lot of like the like Land Rovers and the Toyota, the Troopies, they have that latch on the inside, so the rear occupants can get out the back.
It
Yeah.
would be hard to make that happen. If you get a door lock actuator like they have for car alarms,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just a push button in the back, you can make that happen pretty easily.
Yeah, this one's got some kind of an electronic latch on it. Whenever you bring it down, right when it's about to close, it'll click, and then it'll suck it up itself.
Oh,
So,
yeah, like one of those soft close latches.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Is this a newer one?
It's 2003.
Oh, okay.
Hey, in my book, that's newer.
I don't know if you had the classic Forerunner or, the classic with the sharp pointy nose and all that.
Yeah, the first generation.
Removable top.
Yeah, that's the very first generation. They stopped those in 89 or 90.
Well, I must say, I think that's one of the better looking Forerunners that you have. The new guppy face looking one is not my favorite.
Ah, I love those. I think they look awesome.
It's like a chipmunk got something stuck in its cheeks. Well, it looks like maybe Matt Henwood has joined us. Are you there, Matt? Can you hear us? Or can we
I'm
hear
here.
you?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. We
All
were
right,
just talking about the various setups, and one of the things that we haven't covered yet, and the reason I brought you on is to talk about truck camping.
Okay.
Because I've seen you guys selling quite a few of the four-wheel campers. So can you tell us a little bit about your camp setup, and then we'll, if it's not the four-wheel camper, I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So we've got a couple different setups that we run currently because we're both a four-wheel camper dealer and also an adventure trailer dealer. So I personally have a 2009 Jeep JK with the Nemo Habitat, the adventure trailer Habitat, and then I also have we've got a 99 F250 Super Duty with a 8-foot bed with a Granby four-wheel camper setup in that. Pretty built truck, but they're just pretty comfy. I mean, the kind of ability to go longer trips, less kind of fatigue, for the occupants. I know, my wife and other people who've been in the camper and stay with us have just really enjoyed it. Kind of has all the creature comfort to home. So massively heavy in terms of other truck campers that are on the market. So it's a pretty fun way to travel.
For sure. Now, does that come with like onboard water storage and things like that?
Yeah. So four-wheel campers are unique in that they have onboard freshwater storage. So you got a 20-gallon water tank. If you've got a hot water heater, you've got a 6-gallon hot water heater. So 26 gallons of capacity, but there is no gray water storage. So you're basically, dumping to the ground or like a portable gray water tank. If you so choose. We've built flatbed four-wheel campers. Those have been pretty popular lately, and we'll actually integrate basically removable gray water tanks for those setups for customers who are going to be more permanently in those, or they're going to places where it's required to have a gray water tank, which beach camping on the East Coast, you get into some of the remote parks, they're going to require gray water equal to your fresh water in some cases. So
Yeah, that was one of the things that I considered after I had started my trip up to Alaska. I hadn't really given it any thought as the gray water storage. Dishwater often contains food particles, which attract bears. So it's something I'm going to have to look into for the summer.
Yeah, for sure.
Or I think I had thought about just dumping it in the neighbor's campsite. Probably wouldn't be in good taste, though.
Yeah.
Those ones that stay up all night blasting the music.
Yeah, yep, that's the one. I'm going to throw bacon right on the tent.
Hey, Matt, maybe I missed it, but who is it that you work for?
I'm with Mainline Overland. We're based out of Westchester, Pennsylvania. There's about 5 of us working there now, me and my 2 brothers, and then we've got a couple techs. Yes, we're the East Coast dealer for four-wheel campers and adventure trailers.
Awesome.
So, would you mind telling us a little bit about that Ford? Every time I see it on Facebook or Instagram, I'm always like.
Yeah.
I don't really know anything. I've looked for it. I haven't.
I got like 5 emails just today of people being like, oh, you have a build thread on that? Where's the build thread? And it's a 99 F3 or F250 Super Duty. It's got an Icon, basically like a 4-inch lift. We did cutaway fender flares. It's got 40-inch tires. Literally the last set of BFG KM2s in 40 inches that were sold in the country, we'd have basically sourced them from 5 different suppliers because they discontinued them. It's got an Illuminess rear bumper with the tire swing out, which Illuminess had to basically like redesign the bumper to be able to sustain a 40-inch tire and wheel combo. So now they've got like a heavier duty, beefier version, I think, kind of based on the boomerang we threw at them. And it's a sweet setup. It's got an Airby bull bar up front with Warren 16.5 winch, air compressors, front and rear Airby air lockers. So I mean, it's a pretty capable beast, and easily takes the weight of the camper. It's an 8-foot bed, but a single cab, no, not an extended cab. So it's a pretty tight package. It's fun. It's fun.
I really like it. It's a great looking truck.
Yeah.
There's a lot of standard cabs anymore.
Yeah. Actually, we've owned the truck since new. My sister owned it. She's a blacksmith. She got it, from new back in '99, and we kind of commandeered it from her when she moved to England, and she came back, and it is what it is. She's not getting it back.
It's too late now.
Yeah, we did a 3M vinyl wrap on it too. So the entire truck's got like a matte gray metallic vinyl wrap on it, that stuff holds up like no other. It's super durable. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't think I've seen any pictures of it since then, or maybe I haven't realized it, because last I remember it was that forest green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is. It's green. It is. But it's a vinyl wrap, like metallic matte green. It's like a forest green matte metallic. But underneath it all, it's actually like a dark green paint. Actually, the bed's a 2015 bed that we swapped onto it because the old bed was kind of rotting out on it. It was basically like a shop truck that we just built up. So the bed's actually white, but we wrapped it, so everything looks good.
Yeah, that's still one of my favorite trucks, though. I mean, that thing is really cool.
Yeah, it's got that like Earth Roamer kind of look, but a lot cheaper.
Yeah. It's just such a big truck that those 40s look like they fit, like they should be there in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the cutaway fenders, they're bushwhacker cutaways, and it just looks right. It just looks really, it really, looks the part. So, and it's a beast. So it's fun. Yeah.
I have to say that is part of probably the biggest inspiration or the thing motivating me. I've been contemplating selling my Jeep Cherokee for a long time, and it's so that I could get into a quad cab F250 with that same setup.
Yeah.
It's very tempting.
I mean, the ability to be able to take your whole kind of overland kind of camping setup on and off of a totally usable truck is really attractive to a lot of customers, because they bought a truck because they need the utility factor, and the ability to just remove it and put it in the garage, for the winter. It's similar. I equate it to how people evolved with their overland kind of vehicle builds. And then they add like an adventure trailer or something because they want to tow more stuff with them, or they want more creature comforts. But then with that comes a little bit more headaches of I got to drag this trailer, I got to leave it at camp, I got this whole extra setup. So the ability to just have it in the back of the truck, take it off, and kind of stow it in the garage like you would a trailer is nice. but you don't have the headaches of where can I take this thing and where can I park it, you know.
We're trying to back up on a trail.
Yeah.
So how do you remove one of these campers? I'm looking at your green truck, your green Ford right now, and that's a pretty big camper. How do you remove it?
Yeah, on the four corners of the camper, there's jack brackets, and you literally bolt these jacks on. You can either use a hand crank or you can use a like a cordless drill bit that comes with the camper. You just drop the legs and pull out right from under it. It's a turnbuckle system with eyelets internal within the bed. When you're inside the camper, along the floor, there's 4 little trapdoor access doors to reach through and undo your turnbuckles. So pretty simple. The flatbed campers are a little more advanced, you know, because you got to replace your entire bed, your flatbed in the truck, and those are bolted down to the bed itself, like through bolted. So a little bit more, you know, of a process, but still, you know, you can pull that camper off of a flatbed in, you know, 45 minutes. So it's pretty quick. With a regular camper, slap the jacks on, you know, drop the jacks, pull out from under it. You know, it's like a 30-minute process or less, like 20 minutes really. Yeah.
One-person job. You don't need 2 or 3 people to help you lift it off.
Yeah. No, one-person job, straight up.
Awesome.
I mean, you know, backing under it, if it's just one person, you're probably hopping in and out of the truck a few more times just to line it up. But I mean, it's kind of crazy because you're literally, you know, you got this entire camper up on stilts, and it's pretty stable. I mean, you can literally be on 3 legs when you're kind of hand cranking it, because there's enough rigidity and stability, you know. And obviously, if you're unevenly cranking it up, you're going to be like, you know, just 3 legs are enough. But you drop the 4th, you back under. It's a pretty smooth process, pretty easy. So.
Cool. So what does the floor plan in one of these look like, and how easy is it to pop the top up?
Yeah. So there's in the larger, you know, in the larger campers and even the smaller ones, the smaller camper would be like a fleet model that comes in like a Toyota Tacoma or like a Ford Ranger, kind of 6-foot bed length. And then the bigger ones would be a Hawk or a Granby. A Hawk's for a 6.5-foot bed full-size truck. Granby's for an 8-foot bed full-size truck. And you get 3 different layouts. You get a standard, it would be a rollover couch, which is like a long couch along the passenger side of the camper, where the back of the couch rolls over into a bed. The cab over portion pulls out into a queen-size bed. So you know, with a rollover couch and the queen size, you could sleep with. You could swap out the couch and get a side dinette, which is, you know, 2 people facing each other. That converts into a bed, but that would be like a narrower bed for 1 person. And then they make a front dinette, which is the seats are against the forward portion of the camper where the cab, you know, pass-through window would be. And they're kind of facing each other north-south as opposed to, or east-west as opposed to north-south. And the benefit of that layout allows you to have a cassette toilet and an inside shower option. Basically, the nice part about the 4-wheel is, you know, there's 3 different layouts, but you can pick and choose kind of a la carte options you want. So customers can really kind of customize it based on what they need. You know, is it a family, a small family? Is it a retired couple? Like, you know, you got a lot of options basically to kind of play with. So.
All right, cool. So what does one of these cost?
Base price on a full-size version is around $16,495, and then I mean average price, you know, your option amount to probably like mid-20s. But the resale value I'd say on them is pretty ridiculously strong, especially on the East Coast because they don't really exist out here. You know, I get calls every day from like people looking for used campers, and the ones that pop up on Craigslist are gone within 3 days, like tops. I belong to a couple like Facebook groups, and there was an Eagle camper, an '05, popped up on Craigslist like 3 days ago, and everybody started chattering about it. And then I literally got a call like 5 seconds later about somebody wanting the install because they just bought it, you know. So it was pretty comical. I'm like, oh, sorry guys, like it's already sold. We're installing it Friday. So yeah, they move pretty fast. But just because, they're really well-built campers, too. You know, we always tell customers to go look at every other camper you can find, and then come and see them. And, the proof's in just, the visual of how everything's constructed is really well thought out.
I definitely saw a lot of these four-wheel campers as I was driving from Kansas City all the way up to Alaska. It was like they were having a reunion there in Yellowstone and the various areas because the users are getting out there and using them the way they're meant to.
Seriously, I mean the average kind of like demographic for the customers who are buying these things, a lot of retired military. Like probably the last 10 customers I've had in the last month, all ex-military, all just like hitting the road. The flatbed customers, that's like a more kind of specific user. Still a lot of ex-military people, but they're basically, those kind of customers are like, we're selling our house and we're buying this camper with the most space possible, more storage with the flatbed option, and they're literally selling their house and hitting the road for a couple of years. So it's pretty cool. It's cool to meet those customers.
Oh, I'm sure. I've always been fascinated by this, by the different slide-in campers, and like I said, that's something that's very popular in Alaska. Mm-hmm. I see people using these year-round, which shocks me when it gets as cold as it does here in the winter.
Yeah. I always get funny like text photos from our dealer out in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, Denny. Great guy, and one of the he sells the most campers probably on any of the dealers, and just he's camping in sub-zero temps practically, and I'm always getting pictures like just hanging out in the camper in the middle of the field. It's like 2 degrees. I'm like, you are ridiculous. Meanwhile, on the East Coast, it's been like 60 degrees, and it's January, so go figure.
Yeah, no kidding.
I've been wondering, what is the heater arrangement in those?
They have an Atwood furnace. It's a propane furnace with an electric fan, and they're pretty efficient. You can, even with the pop-up, you can get a thermal liner. It's like an additional insulating liner on the pop-up, which helps retain the heat pretty well. To get back to your previous question about popping the top, it's literally there's 6 latches on the exterior of the camper, and then 2 push panels on the interior. You basically just press right up. A lot of the campers come optioned with external hydraulic lift assist struts, and so it makes like the lifting process pretty straightforward, pretty easy. And again, we get a lot of customers who are like retired, and so if like a 7-year-old person can lift it, like anybody can lift it.
Very cool.
Very cool. That's the flatbed setup. Yeah, on a Toyota Tacoma. Yeah.
How much do I think you said the Hawks are the ones that go on the
6.5 foot. The fleets go on the Tacoma. Those start similar price. You're in the 16 range to start with the base model. They make a shell model, which starts at $86.95. And you can literally be like totally stripped out, bare bones, with a shell. You can add things like a furnace and a 2-burner stove and like a 12-volt battery system, so you can do electrical, running lights and fans inside the camper with 12-volt outlets. The only thing you wouldn't get in a shell model would be your water system, your cabinetry, and a converter to go to 110 power, with shore power. But I mean, a shell is still it's a pretty substantial setup because you don't have any of that cabinetry in there, so you have a ton of space. And then the benefit of the camper being that much lighter. So I remember we put a Raven's for a Toyota Tundra, like with a 5-foot, the 5-foot bed, the short bed Tundra. And we put a Raven shell on a customer's truck, and the camper weighed like 450 pounds. Like a full exterior shell of a camper, 450 pounds. So you got a ton of room to play with, throwing gear in there or whatever you want to put in there. So they're pretty cool setups, yeah.
Oh man, this is not good for my budget.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's go back and talk. We've spent quite a bit of time talking about four-wheel campers. You also have a pretty sweet setup on your JK. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so on the JK, we have, we partner, we're a dealer for adventure trailers, and they partnered with Nemo to create basically the tent portion of the AT habitat, which is, very similar to, like the Flip Pack or the Ursa Miners, but it's a full, it's the full lid, the full canopy that goes right up over the hood. So you're not getting like a 30% wedge to sleep in. You're getting like a full blown 180-degree tent opening up. So you basically double the space, more than double the space, but you double the sleeping room. So in that unit, I mean, the JK is a 4-door and can haul 5 people. You can sleep 5 people in that thing, versus other setups where you try to get 5 people up there, it's going to get a little cramped. It's a really nice setup. It's a really nice setup. It replaces your entire top, and it's got a torsion bar, kind of front end setup. So actually cranking that lid open is not a chore. It's pretty easy. You get a big kind of hand crank that attaches to the side, and if you're just kind of rotating it open. Tent's really nice. Again, a Nemo tent, and as you open it, just like opening a rooftop tent, it canopies open. It erects itself upright, and you have interior access. So you basically, over the passenger back seats, there's 2 panels. You slide them out of the way, and then you can stand up right into the top and climb in. So you don't have to do a ladder, an exterior entrance, or anything like that. So it's nice, yeah.
Man, I know that's always a popular one. That's just provides so much usable space in a very compact, slick setup.
Yeah, it is. I mean, before I ran the Habitat, I ran like a Gobi roof rack and the Easy On rooftop tents. I ran those for multiple years. They're great, and we still sell those. They're awesome. But you do cut down on a lot of weight if you go with the Habitat, because it's you're replacing your top with this top. It's all integrated. So really, you're adding maybe like 100 pounds to the entire setup, 120 roof rack, adding other items that can become, you're getting like up there payload wise, and GVRW. So that's always like the trade-off. So it's a nice tight package, yeah.
Very cool. Hey, Alex, is those slide-in campers, is that something that they have all over in Australia?
You don't see so many of them, but there is a really impressive one that I've seen at the 4-wheel drive shows. It's called the Quick Pitch Camper, and it's the same sort of deal. It slides in and out of your tray, and it takes about 30 seconds to set up, and the way the kitchen opens out on the thing is incredible. It's all sort of folded into the side of your... So it's a complete camper package like what we're talking about here, and the kitchen folds up into the side. And you just pull down on this handle, and it's got like 50 hinges, and the things pop out from everywhere all in one smooth moment. It's big smooth movement. It's incredible.
Interesting. Yeah, I just looked that one up on Facebook. It's like a pop-up book.
Yeah.
Looks like some kind of a worker, like a HVAC repairman's truck or something.
Yeah, it does look a bit like that.
A lot of drawers.
We don't get so many of the bigger vehicles over here. So like, it's just sort of throw it on a Hilux or a Ford Ranger or something, and I don't know if you're familiar with the size of them, but they'd probably be smaller than. They're quite a small ute.
Like an older Tacoma.
Is that
smaller than a Tacoma.
Is that the same thing that Ronnie Dahl has on the back of his truck, or is that different? What has he got on the back of his truck?
He's just got a canopy on the back of his, so he doesn't sleep in there. He's got a few shelves and a fridge, and so his is just basically storage. He sleeps in a swag, same as I do, but his swag's a bit fancier.
But it's like a big metal shell, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a really cool truck.
Yeah, it's a big metal shell. Those two cruisers, they're pretty weighty.
So what's the advantage of that layout? Is it so you're not rummaging around in the bed of a pickup, everything's on the exterior, or is there something else?
What's that? What's the reason for it?
Yeah, I mean, is it just access and organization, or is there something?
Yeah, organisation and protection from the elements, really, I think.
Yeah.
That's the main reason that they go for it.
Hey,
And
Matt, before we close out, I had a question, and I don't know that we answered it. You mentioned that it takes 20, 30 minutes to disconnect or unload that four-wheel camper, the slide-in type. Is that something that you could do and kind of base camp out of it? Like, get to camp, slide that out of the back, go explore with your truck, and then come back and slide it back in before you pull out the next day?
You could potentially. I mean, the big kind of benefit of the camper is that it's no longer than your truck bed. So, and they're basically, they're lightweight aluminum frames. They're built to take the beating, of off-roading. And a lot of customers, customers really beat the hell out of these things. I mean, put them through their paces, and they hold up to it. I mean, some customers think of it like that kind of a camper where I'm going to go ditch it at a campsite and then I'm good to go. But, the real kind of beauty of it is you can take it to any of those places. I mean, customers are doing, any bit of his, advanced trails, that you can get one of the, a larger truck down or a Tacoma down, and, bring the camper with them, and then they, just pitch base camp wherever they park it. But yeah, you could take it off. You could put it at a campsite. The main thing is just, you want to have a little bit of support under the floor, when you have it on the stilts, because it'll lower just about to the ground, but not fully to the ground. It'll maybe be like 6 inches off the ground. So you just want to throw a 2x4 under there or something to just support the floor if you're walking on it when it's out of the camper, out of the bed. So yeah, you could definitely do that.
Okay. Well, I think we're coming close to the hour mark, so we can go ahead and start wrapping this up. We want to give everybody a chance to talk about some of the projects they're working on, what they're doing. So, Matt, I'll let you start off since you are the special guest for today. You want to tell us a little bit more about Mainline and
Sure.
where somebody can go to find you?
Sure, yeah. Mainline Overland, you can check out our website, mainlineoverland.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. First podcast, though. So maybe the first of many, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. I'd love to have you back sometime.
Yeah. Basically, we're located in Westchester, Pennsylvania, about half hour west of Philadelphia, in between New York, D.C. area. So, if you're traveling through, definitely stop off. We have a showroom there. It's about a 5,000 square foot showroom and a 5,000 square foot shop. Plenty of eye candy. If you look at our Facebook or Instagram feeds, we've always got some toys in there like the Green Monster, and we've got a Unimog in there right now, the JK Habitat. We do some adventure bike stuff too as well. So kind of we try to make it as like a little adventure travel hub. Try to check all the boxes for customers, trailers, everything. So, if you're in the area, come by and you're ready to drool.
For sure. Yeah, I totally recommend everybody check out their Instagram account because you guys do an awesome job of putting some really cool stuff on there. A lot of cool stuff is coming through your shops, and you guys are always out at the different shows, and so you see a lot of cool stuff too.
Yeah, we're just again, me and my two brothers and then a bunch of techs, but we're just car guys, and we love working on anything interesting, outside the box as well. We work on hot rods and British sports cars and you name it. So we just like wrenching. And having fun and going on adventures too, yeah.
For sure. And I'll have links to all that in the show notes here, so everybody can just, if they can't remember all the places to find you, they can just go to overlandroundtable.com, and they'll be able to link over to everything. So
Awesome.
All right, Alex, where can we find you and all the different projects you have going on?
Oh, you'll find me the same just about everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, what's the picture one? Instagram. I'm all under Intense Off-Road, so just look that up and you'll be right. And if you're lost for how to spell Intense Off-Road, we will put that in the show notes.
Absolutely. All right, and Brandon, where can we find you and all the different things you're doing?
For the most part these days, Facebook and Instagram, and then they're both under my name, Brandon Libby. And Expedition Portal, the main page. Look for some articles on there as well.
I was going to say, I've been seeing your name pop up on the main page of Expedition Portal quite a bit lately, it seems like.
Yeah, I try to do as much as I can. Sometimes it's hard finding new material. It's not already been covered, so I look for something interesting. Like last one was a VW Beetle that covered all 6 continents, 118,000 miles, towing a camper behind it, believe it or not.
Painted in full Herbie regalia.
Yeah.
I dug that. That was pretty sweet.
Very cool. Yeah, I love that one. All right, and Taylor, where can we find you?
You can find the Overland Adventures on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.
Excellent, and we'll have links to all that as well. You don't have any new projects that you're ready to unleash yet?
Not quite yet. I do have a ham radio that I got from ICOM that I still need to install. And
You haven't installed that yet?
I still haven't. It's still sitting in the box. I've been so busy with the holidays and everything, but now that that's over with, hopefully I can get it installed soon.
Excellent. Once you do, I have figured out how I can connect some repeaters together to reach at least down to close to where you're at. So I don't know if you've got the range to reach into Oklahoma City, but we'll definitely have to try that out.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
All right, and I am the moderator for the Overland Roundtable, Dan Cole, and I'm also the host of the 4x4 podcast. So head over to the 4x4podcast.com, and we are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all under the same name, and posting about everything related to off-roading, not just overlanding. And it's not vehicle-specific. I've got love for all the different off-roading brands, so there's no Land Rover, Land Cruiser, Jeep hate in my blood. I've been not an owner, but I've used them all for various things. So that is it. This has been session number 5 of the Overland Roundtable. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you next time. And I don't remember what our topic is next time. You remember, Taylor?
I don't. I'd have to go back and look at our list.
Yeah, we do have a long list of topics to cover, so be sure to subscribe. You can find us in iTunes there, and our subscribers are growing quickly. So thanks to everybody who has been telling the Overland Roundtable, or telling your friends about the Overland Roundtable. Just keep it up, and we'll keep plugging along, releasing new shows. All right, guys, and we will talk to you later.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye.